I'm rolling, Andrew. Um, quarter past hour. I'm rolling on the stream. 866-997-4748 is the number to call. We've got a very, very special guest that is joining us now. And oh, okay. I'm sorry. Brittany telling me I was confused by that. Okay, you all forgive me. Um, Joining us now a very, very special guest and one who, in fact, has made history, as a matter of fact. And folks, we're streaming on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Make it plain. She is the first undocumented member of the DNC. She's a dreamer. She is Ellie Perez. Ellie, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the show. How are you?
Just fine. Pleasure to have you. You're also the finance director for Kate Gallego's campaign for mayor out in Phoenix, right?
I am, yeah.
All
Very
right.
exciting times for Arizona this year.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll get into that shortly as well. Well, first of all, congratulations on being um, elected to the DNC. That happened recently, right?
Yeah, that happened around November. Yeah, in November, right before the holidays. Yeah.
All right. What inspired you to want to be on the DNC?
So it was a total surprise. My interaction with the DNC has been very limited. More of it came in 2016, and it was always about defending the DNC
Mm-hmm.
because of the primary and everything that had happened in our party. Um, but I've always considered myself a Democrat, and so having an institution that fights for democratic values, in my opinion, is something that's very important. And you need it at a national level. You need the backbone of every local party, right, is probably the national party. And so it's really important to be part of an organization and try and change people's minds about it, right? Especially people my age. I'm 27 years old, and a lot of 27-year-olds are very turned off to partisan politics right now.
Right.
And I think that it's something that we desperately need right now, that we need to stand our ground on certain sides, um, and show the country and lead the country with values that are American values, which I fully believe are democratic values. So.
All right. No, you're absolutely right. And one of those values is caring about people just like you, our immigrant population. What are you thinking about the bipartisan meeting, or as Trump called it, his studio in the studio the other day with Democratic senators and Republican senators, and this current negotiation to come up with a deal to fix or extend DACA and or some type of Dream Act. What do you think about that and where all that stands right now?
Quite honestly, I think we had a lot of leverage before the first of the year. There was a spending bill that Democrats could have opted not to vote for.
Mm-hmm.
We lost a lot of our leverage there.
Mm-hmm.
I think giving him the wall is just the beginning. I really believe that he's going to come back and say, well, there's more that I want. It's not just the wall. It's this and this. And there will be caps. And I know for a fact that I will not accept anything that does not protect my mother. My mother's still undocumented. A lot of my family's still undocumented. A lot of my friends' parents are still undocumented. And I know they will also not accept something that doesn't protect our parents. So we are really relying on our Democratic leaders to push forward. I think a lot of them are very afraid, especially with midterms coming up, and people in swing districts. I think a lot of people are still afraid of that. But I want to remind Democrats in office, whichever office, as local as school board or as high as U.S. Senate, that these Republicans have been winning because they have gone to extremes. And Democrats, we have been shying away from being liberals and being unapologetically American and accepting and pushing for democratic values. So I want Democrats to start pushing for that, to stop being afraid of what the consequence might be, because everybody was afraid of what could happen in Alabama, and that came out to be a surprise. If Democrats trust their base, we will come out for them and we will vote for them. And by their base, I mean people of minority and people of color, because that's what won Alabama.
Right, right. No, you're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, you're a member of the DNC, and you talked about when Democrats have leverage. As a member of the DNC, Ellie, you can't make the Democrats in the Senate do whatever you want them to do. You don't have that
No,
authority? I thought, okay.
no, I can't. I don't have a magic wand that I can wave.
Right.
That actually, being a member of the DNC, on a side note, is a very bittersweet moment for me. I am able to have a vote at a national level, right, for our
Right.
presidential nominee, right, like a symbolic vote, but I will not be able to cast a ballot. And it's for the time being, right? There is no pathway to citizenship for me. I've been in this country since I was 4 years old. I did not know I was undocumented until I was 16. And even after that, when my mother gave me the choice of leaving to a country that she knows I would probably not be persecuted, right? Because that's how I feel about our lives as dreamers right now, that we are being attacked, that my dreams are being threatened. I chose to stay here because I am an American. People are very up in arms about dreamers fighting for a comprehensive immigration reform or fighting for the DREAM Act. But to me, I mean, fighting for what you believe in is one of the staples of being an American. And when people are up in arms about that, my response to them is, I am an American, and America taught me how to fight, and that's what I'm doing. So I don't understand why you're so surprised that I am being my American self and fighting for the values that you've taught me for.
You mentioned the leverage that Democrats had, but the spending, the resolution for the government to function, it actually runs out, I think, on the 19th. So wouldn't we have that leverage again in the days to come?
I want Democrats to be brave and hold out, because I don't think we're going to get another chance to push for something like this. I don't think that we're going to get a real chance, at least not in the next 2.5 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
This man has shown us before that he does not care about our communities. For him, it is that small percentage of people that really don't understand how the immigration system works. When people say to me, go back and do it the right way, I have to educate them about how the immigration system works. Then they change their mind and say, oh, well, maybe we should change that, right? And that can be from the most conservative voter that I meet, because I also do door-to-door canvassing. And so I think it is something that the Democrats have to hold out for, right? Because we're not going to get another chance to push for something like this in a while. And I don't want them to get something that's, to be quite honest, and, with all due respect, half-assed. I don't want something that will not protect my mother. Don't want something that will criminalize our parents. I don't want something that won't give us a pathway to citizenship.
Indeed, indeed. So, give us in your from your point of view, the ideal um, solution that you would like them to negotiate for in the coming days. What would that look like?
I mean, it was a 2010 DREAM Act bill, right? I remember sitting in community college and waiting. I went in for a test in my psychology class, and I remember waiting for the vote, coming out of my psychology class and realizing that the vote had happened and we had lost, because even Democrats then didn't vote for that bill. And I think the ideal solution is the DREAM Act. I don't think DACA is a fix. It is a Band-Aid on a gushing wound, right? The reinstatement of DACA, which isn't really, I shouldn't even call it the reinstatement of DACA. The judge's decision to continue DACA, in my book, is not a full win.
Mm-hmm.
It is just a temporary okay for my community, because there are thousands of undocumented students and undocumented Americans who have aged into the program since September 5th, but they are still not eligible to apply for it. So they are still not protected, right? DACA does not give me a pathway to citizenship. It doesn't even start to give me a pathway to citizenship, and it's a temporary permit for 2 years. I mean, imagine having to live your life on a 2-year basis, and at a year and 6 months, right? Like, you have to plan everything out for a year and 6 months. And I mean, that's great, right, if you really like planning out your life, but sometimes you just want to be a normal 18-year-old American and not worry about something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I agree. Absolutely right. 866-99-SIRIUS, 866-997-4748 is the number to call as we chat with Ellie Perez. She is the first dreamer on the DNC. So, Ellie, if you would, tell us a little bit about what it means for you to be a dreamer and to also be a member of the DNC. What's how important is that, and what is that like?
Like I said a little bit ago, right? It to me, being a member of the DNC first, I mean, I was really excited when I found out. I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting, I was actually at work, like after hours, and I remember getting the phone call and like turning around and telling the person closest to me, "Oh my goodness, this is happening." And I was so excited. But it's also this responsibility, right? I am not the sole person to speak on behalf of the undocumented community. There are other dreamers who have risked their lives, who have risked their bodies to push for a comprehensive immigration reform, to push for a DREAM Act, and I commend those dreamers. But I also think it's important to have voices that differ in opinion, right? Like, I don't always agree with the approach of all Democrats. I don't always agree on some of the things, but I think it's important to have that variation of voices to push the Democratic Party, more towards a more welcoming, a more inclusive overall party. I'm very excited and very happy with the leadership that we have now. But it's also, I think, a biased opinion because I was never a member before, right? And there had never been any other member of Congress or any member of the DNC or chair that had pushed to have an undocumented member. And that to me is a little shocking because I know for a fact, for example, in Arizona, half of our good Democrats have been elected by undocumented students, whether these undocumented students organized for them, knocked on doors for them, or just ran their campaigns, right? And so at a national level, that had never happened either. And so I think it's very telling of the direction of the party, but it's very telling of our leadership, right? The fact that when I reminded them I am undocumented, their words were, "The chairman is prepared to fight for your position." Understanding that I have that backup and that I have that person in my corner that's going to fight for me is something that was very reassuring.
Right. No, that is important. And so you also tell us a bit more about your story. You came here when you were 4 years old, correct?
Yep, I was turning 4. My family is originally from Veracruz, and so that's kind of, in the Gulf area.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's family had been here for years already. And I remember growing up, never really understanding that I was undocumented. I knew that I wasn't born here, but to me that didn't mean anything else. So I did all of my grade school in Phoenix, I did all of my middle school, high school. I remember when I was 16, we were about to take a test, and one of the sections
Yeah.
asked for the last four digits of your social. I went back home the next day or that day, and I asked my mom, and she says to me, "Well, you don't have one, right?" And then that's when it hit me. Like, being undocumented meant that there was no future for me. I went to go to school, and I wanted to be a nurse. And at 16, when someone tells you that there's no way that you can continue on, it's a very disheartening moment. But I always say that I was very lucky. I grew up in public schools, and my public school teachers were amazing. They pushed me, and I think some of them knew that I was undocumented, but they never asked me. And they pushed me, and they always said, it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are. Like, if you go to school, you can make it. And so I grew up with that notion, right? That it didn't matter what happened to me, as long as I learned and I was good at school, I was going to be okay. And it's been, for me, it's been true. And I know it sounds kind of cliche, but it's been something that I hold dearly. And in 2010, after I graduated high school, 1070 was signed, right? After I graduated high school, I couldn't continue on to school, so I became a house cleaner. And in 2010, I watched Jan Brewer sign 1070, and I was scared. My mom was scared. She wanted to leave, and I started getting a little bit involved. 2012 comes around, and I start going to marches. Or 2010, I start going to marches, start getting involved. 2012, I learned about a local election in my area, and I start knocking on my first doors. And since then, it's something that I love. I can't vote. I never get a ballot with my name on it. I will one day. I know I will. But helping people vote, helping them exercise their right, and helping them understand that this is a country where we have that privilege, where your vote really matters, right? In Phoenix, we have lost in one elections by 60 plus votes. So having them understand how important and crucial they are to the system and kind of re-engaging them is something that I absolutely love.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what is your status now in terms of DACA? Have you expired, or where do you stand?
So I have not expired yet. On September 5th, my DACA, when the announcement came, my DACA was a year and a half from expiration. I will be expiring by this time next year. My permit will be gone, and I will not be able to renew this year if something doesn't happen. Right. Even the decision doesn't mean that it's a permanent decision. Right. The government can still appeal the judge's decision from 2 days ago. So I think it's very important for people who are going to renew to speak to the lawyers, but it's also a push for Congress and a push for our leaders, right? To hold them to the fire. These are 800,000 Americans that are being threatened, right? These are 800,000 Americans who are tax-paying members of society. It's huge. These are doctors. These are lawyers. These are teachers. These are people who who have proven through criminal background record or checks that they are nonviolent people, that they are going to school, that they have a plan to make America a good place. And to jeopardize that over partisan politics, to me, is completely insane and un-American.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Ellie Perez, folks, the first dreamer on the DNC, the first undocumented individual on the DNC, and we're very, very proud of that. She's out in Arizona. Now, tell us what about you're currently campaigning for Kate Gallego, who's running for Phoenix mayor. Right? How's the race looking?
Oh, my goodness. It's so exciting. I worked with her when she became the first councilwoman to represent the area that she got elected to, so it's exciting. When Kate Gallego gets elected, she will become the first woman to be a mayor of a top 10 city in the country. So we don't have any female electeds in the top 10 cities, which is something that I am determined to help change. She has been a sitting member of the council. This is her second term, and it's been great. The response from the community is great, and to see her campaign on her record and on policies that she's helped push is amazing to me. It's very inspirational too. And again, Kate has been one of the biggest supporters for Dreamers in Phoenix. You know, she made history in the city of Phoenix when she hired the first two undocumented students to be part of her staff. So once we got DACA, you know, there was a lot of people going out and working on campaigns, but Kate understood that she needed to build a bench, right? She needed to help the next generation come up. And in doing that, she wanted her office and her staff to be reflective of her city and her state. And Dreamers are a huge part of that. And so I was one of the first people she hired on as part of her staff. And that to me says it says so much about a person's character and about a person's commitment to their community to help it grow.
Sure. Is there a primary, or is she?
Yes, there is a primary. It's a 5-way primary, and she's the only woman running. Right? Again, to me, I mean, women everywhere are running.
Yeah.
To bigger offices this year, but this is the race that I had sworn off races because I worked on the 2016 cycle, and we all know how that worked out.
Yeah.
And so to put yourself back into a position where, if anybody who's worked on campaigns, they know how time-consuming they are, how life-engulfing they are. But there's nobody else that I would have put myself in that position for. This woman has a proven record of leading in this city, has a proven record of being unapologetically progressive, and that is what we need right now.
Sure.
We need someone who in the face of a national leader who's going to try and divide us, we need someone who's not afraid to come in and say, well, Phoenix is a welcoming city, and Phoenix will welcome you no matter what.
Outstanding.
So,
outstanding. What's the website for the campaign?
The campaign is kategallego.com. And you can learn more about the campaign there. You can donate to her online. If there are any female listeners, she would be the first woman to represent a top 10 city in the country. She is someone who, with an environmental background, sustainability background, she's worked on things that range from as far as equal pay to helping lead and pass one of the most progressive initiatives in the city. She chaired our transportation initiative, and that expanded public transportation to parts of the city that wouldn't have it before. So that's huge. There's a lot of people in Phoenix that don't have cars, and if you've ever been to Phoenix, you know it's hot. So walking places sometimes is not an option.
Right.
So she's helped with all of that.
Outstanding. And the website, one more time, make sure we have it.
It's Kate Gallego, and that's KETEGALLEGO.com.
Ellie, so nice to meet you. Very, very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Especially the role that you play. Now, where'd you go to college again?
Oh, I am a Sun Devil. I went to ASU.
Arizona State.
Proud Sun Devil.
Yeah, that's all right. That's okay. One of my idols growing up went to Arizona State, Reggie Jackson, and went on to be Mr. October. So I don't have a problem with Arizona State. That's great. Keep up the good work. Let us know about everything that you're doing. We're going to continue to fight for a clean Dream Act, and I'm sure you'd have us also contact people to contact and call their senators and demand that, wouldn't you?
Yes. First, thank you so much for letting me be on the show and giving me the space to talk about this. I think it's really important to have people give us space for this. So thank you. And I do urge everyone who is listening to please call their congressman, their senator. Remember that at the end of the day, the government works for you. They are elected there to serve you. It is not the other way around. People in office need to be held accountable. And this is the perfect year to remind them that. Make your voice heard. That is the only thing that will make a difference. This is coming from someone who doesn't get to vote and watches people cast their ballots, in every election. And I understand the importance of it. I understand also where people might say it doesn't count, but if people who thought their vote counted in 2016 would have voted, we would not be in this position, right?
That's right.
That you have the power. I really, truly mean it. You have the power to change this. If you don't like something in your city, your state, your country, go out and vote. Go out and march. If you're upset, go out and vote. Go out and march. Register your neighbors to vote. Get involved, because there is no more time. You know, things are changing, and every community out there is being attacked. And Americans stick together and they stand together. And so stand with your neighbors by voting better people in office who will represent you.
Right. Ellie Perez of the DNC, also finance director of KateGallego.com, running for mayor of Phoenix. Ellie, again, a pleasure. Very, very proud of you. Let's keep in close touch. We're always here to support your efforts, okay?
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I really appreciate it.
All right. Take care now. We'll talk soon. All right. Bye-bye. Folks, we'll take a quick break, and then we will come back. We'll have time for a few calls. I actually got Joe out in Phoenix. We'll talk to Joe when we get back, too, in Phoenix. Sirius XM Progress 127, Resistance Radio. Get woke. Get ready for impeachment. This is MIP.